Hello, welcome to our Alumni Ask Me Anything series as part of our 90th anniversary celebration of the School of Information and Library Science at UNC Chapel Hill. My name is Lori Haight and I serve as the Career Services Coordinator, and today we have Timothy Owens joining us. We have already collected some questions ahead of time, but if you would like to add any questions, please submit them using the Q&A feature at the bottom of the Zoom screen, and we'll try to get to as many of them as we can in the time we have allowed. So we'll go ahead and get started. So my first question is, how did you get interested in library work?
Good question. Everybody has a library story, I think. Mine, a couple of things happened that sort of pointed me toward library school at Chapel Hill. First, a friend of mine, after I graduated, after my undergraduate degree, I was assisting a friend who was the director of the medical library at Duke, who encouraged me to consider it. And I also had taken a career inventory test, and the top three were musician, photographer, and librarian. And I had a music degree and had already started somewhat down that path and found that to be a challenge for full-time employment. Photography seemed like a nice hobby, and then librarianship just struck a chord with me, and the public service aspect of that and helping people, being in a helping profession. And so with those, I applied to Chapel Hill, and the rest is history, I guess.
Great. For your, when you were at the State Library of North Carolina, I have a couple questions that came in. One was about what's an accomplishment or initiative that happened during your time there that you were proud of?
So I've had two stints at the State Library, and the first was working with the Public Library Internet Initiative, getting all of the public libraries connected to the internet. At that point, there's a lot of dial-up accounts and managing email accounts, but making sure that all of the libraries were connected to the internet. It's interesting that now, having come back, broadband and internet access is still something that we are working toward increasing and enhancing in libraries. I think in the time I've been back, a couple of things stand out that I feel good about. Some of our grant work with the additional funding from the Institute of Museum and Library Services for some COVID response grants to help libraries reopen and prepare to welcome back the public. I think that was a good program. Also, some of the technology grant programs that we've offered there, the SLNC Adapts, and now the latest, the Adapting Technology. And also, not only do we have the pandemic to work through, but with all of the social justice issues that have come to the front, really proud of some work with the North Carolina Public Library Directors Association, engaging in some racial equity work with the Racial Equity Institute, and also Dr. Love Jones out of Greensboro to provide a series to help libraries be more welcoming and inclusive. So those initiatives I feel pretty good about.
Was there anything that surprised you about working at the State Library of North Carolina?
Anything that surprised me? I think no 2 days are the same. And I think the impact of the State Library and the great staff there, the amount of work that is accomplished really surprised me, how much the staff was able to do. And over the past past 18 months or so, the flexibility and resilience that people have shown in responding to the ever-changing situation with the pandemic.
Mm-hmm. Having worked in both academic and public libraries, can you talk about differences or similarities between the two?
Similarities, connecting people with information that they need to improve their life wherever they are. I don't think the differences are that significant. I mean, certainly with the academic libraries, it's focused on schoolwork more specifically. But in public libraries, there is some of that research work. You're assisting people with sort of a broader spectrum of helping them with their needs in their everyday life.
What was the most pertinent or useful class you took for your current position? Or what instruction would you like to have had that you did not receive?
I think the management course was really helpful. Library management, and I would have liked to have had more about networking and the importance of and relationship building, and even I think looking back now, this social justice and equity, EDIA, which has really grown in importance now. And at that time, way back when I was in a wee lad in library school, that was not at the forefront in the same way that it is now. So I think those areas would be particularly helpful, because it really, and just broadening the perspective that way.
What is one piece of advice you'd give to someone who is interested in working in public libraries?
A piece of advice? If they're interested, I would say try to find an opportunity to volunteer or an internship with a library if you can. Talk to as many folks in libraries as you can. Connect with, if you're a student, connect with NCLA. Get a membership there and network with the sections and the folks in that organization. I think that's can give you a great perspective on the variety of opportunities that are available in public libraries.
Mentioned networking, and one of our questions was, we talk about the value of relationship building with fellow students and colleagues in early professional positions. Did you see that as helpful for you in your career trajectory?
Very much so. I think having that network of colleagues from fellow students who we work together with some organizations that help propel our careers forward. One that many folks may not have heard of, MugLink, Microcomputer Users Group for Libraries in North Carolina. And some of the, I was in library school, and shortly after, some of our classmates, we worked closely with that group and providing instruction and in technology and HTML and for library staff around the state. And I think that gave some good exposure through that group. But that networking really was important. And with NCLA as well, being involved with that and having those networks. There are lots of folks in libraries, but it is a small universe, I think, and really well connected. And oftentimes jobs awareness of jobs can come through, or you get the list, but also through knowing someone, and you get to make an impression on someone. And if you have that positive impression, then that could lead to some other opportunities.
What skill areas are you seeing as a need among today's library workers from your vantage point as the state librarian?
What skills?
Skill areas.
Skill areas. But technology, ever changing, it's going to continue to be important. The ability to teach information literacy, to help people navigate information, discern what it is they are looking for. You know, a lot of that reference work that applies to technology and resources as well. And the soft skills, I think the interpersonal skills are really important, because even when you're assisting the public, it's building those relationships, building trust, and the information literacy. There's so much mis and disinformation to combat at this time that you have to build trust, I think, in those areas to help people navigate through and help encourage people to consider their sources and look at the reliability of the information. So I think that's an important area.
Mm-hmm. What did you enjoy when you worked at IMLS?
Oh, I enjoyed the colleagues, and I see there's a colleague on here, very much. And seeing the good work of that investment of public funds, I really enjoyed. And the site visits. I have to say that the opportunity to travel to different states, I had a portfolio of 20 states, not including North Carolina. They wouldn't give me North Carolina when I was there. But that opportunity to go and visit the states and see firsthand the good work that's being done with that investment of federal funds. So really enjoyed that, met lots of wonderful people. And so having the opportunity to be part of that. Also, I worked with the National Book Festival. I enjoyed that aspect of it. I was the liaison for IMLS with COSLA and the Library of Congress for the book festival, and the National Student Poets program, which I was able to support. And so that was really exciting. And to travel around with the student poets and see how they were engaging with their peers was really great. The whole experience was wonderful. But then North Carolina beckoned back, so.
What do you like best? What do you like best about your consulting work?
That just the opportunity to be, I think of that as being a librarian's librarian. And so being able to support local libraries and the work of local libraries and help them connect with their communities, serve their communities, helping librarians do their job. It's that the same as being a librarian helping the public, but helping those folks connect with the resources and the people and the information that they need to serve their communities in the best way they can.
One question that came in was, what has been your biggest professional setback or disappointment, and how did you work through that?
Biggest setback. Well, thinking about the past couple of years, it has been dealing with the pandemic and the loss of momentum in some of our projects and work as we had to shift our focus to responding to the coronavirus. That was, who knew that was that we were going to go through 18, 20 months of that and continuing, and that it will continue. So that really has been a challenge, I think, and we're still regrouping from and getting to the, I hate to say, the new normal, whatever that will be. But I think what helped was having that, again, back to relationships and having a network and thinking about it from the perspective of what can I do to help support the community and the libraries and the library directors, and not what is it I need and what can they do for me, but what can I do, help shift that focus. You know, we had the infusion of some additional funding that helped in responding and being able to get people together to connect and share information amongst themselves. I mean, we did not have all the answers at the state library, but with building that, with that community that had already been built, especially with the public library directors that we work with so closely, but being able to have a platform for them to connect and share information, I think helped get things, keep things on track, just in a different way, and kept the work moving forward. And communities were in all different stages of library service, some where they never closed, some where they were closed with no service, some where they were closed with curbside service, and then the slow progression back to regular library services. A little rambling there, sorry.
No, it's all good. You had mentioned about management of information professionals that you took when you were at SILS. And I know one of the topics in there are stakeholders and how to think about stakeholders. And it sounds like with some of this relationship building, making sure you're thinking about who your stakeholders are and how to best communicate any of the initiatives with them is important. Can you talk about how you do that to make sure stakeholders know about the initiatives that you're putting out there?
Well, some of that is listening. And I think one thing I want to add to that is listening to people and not just coming up with a solution to what you think the problem is, but listening to find out what the problem is and what solution might work or what would be helpful for folks. And I think if people see that you are empathetic and you are listening to them and actively listening, then they are more likely to engage with you and you can have that dialogue. And I think that dialogue is where the connection between what we're offering and what libraries are connecting with happens. That's the point where we can make those real connections with services and resources that they need. But it's a dialogue and really making sure we're not just making assumptions.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Someone wrote in, what is the day in the life of a state librarian like? And what should people know about the state library in terms of potential career path?
I'll answer the second one first.
Uh-huh.
It's a great opportunity for a career path. And the State Library of North Carolina, we have the Government and Heritage Library, which provides support for North Carolina researchers, family historians, genealogists, everything NC. So we have direct public service there. We have the Library for the Blind and Physically Handicapped, which provides materials for those who cannot use regular print materials. So that's another direct library service for a special population, and that's provided at no cost to those users. And we also have the library development section, which has the consulting work, houses our NC Cardinal project. We have adult services, youth services, public library management. We've been working with a homework project to address the digital divide, addressing the homework gap through broadband adoption. So digital inclusion, we have a digital inclusion librarian. So it's the full range of library services and activities. It's a real variety at the state library. And we touch libraries of all types. We work with, especially with public libraries, but we also work with community college libraries, the UNC system libraries, and the independent colleges and universities libraries. And so there's an opportunity to interact with a variety of library professionals across the state or library workers. We work closely with NCLA. We work closely with the Public Library Directors Association. So there's just a lot of opportunity for a variety of experiences in libraries and helping the people of North Carolina. So at the end of the day, we've had a little part in helping every community across the state. So it's really I would encourage folks to keep an eye on the job postings from the state library. And we do a lot of digitization work in the Government and Heritage Library. We work with UNC, with the Digital Heritage Center, the LSTA grant programs. I mean, there's just so much going on that folks get to interact with. And data,
So
of course, there's a lot of data.
it sounds like no 2 days are the same then.
No, oh, that's right. That was the other part. What's the light day in the life?
Day in the life.
Day in the life of state. No 2 days are the same. A lot of email, I will say, but it's a variety. And working in North Carolina anyway, working within the Department of Natural and Cultural Resources where we sit. So looking to see how we can support the work of other divisions within our agency, connecting with other state agencies, really building those relationships, working with the Library Directors Association, Public Library Directors Association. So it's a variety.
We did have your colleague at IMLS write in the chat. We loved Timothy at IMLS and he is still missed. So I wanted to make sure we shared that before.
And
I
still miss IMLS. And Terry DeVoe is just wonderful.
We're glad that we could have that connection today. Well, I want to take the opportunity to thank you on behalf of SILS for spending your time with us today. It was wonderful to have this open dialogue of things that we don't usually get to have questions. And so we appreciate your time and energy. And we have this recorded. And so this will be posted for people who were unable to come today, but would want to catch up with it in the future. So thank you very much.
Well, thank you. And thanks to SILS for kicking off this career for me. I really appreciate it. Take care, everyone. Remember your 3 W's. Stay well.